Pumping Iron, the most iconic bodybuilding movie in history. The movie which not only brought Arnold stardom, but destroyed the stereotype that had plagued bodybuilders for decades. The scene was at Gold's Gym, and in this interview with Ken Sprague, Ken talks about the changes he and Ken Waller made to Gold's Gym and the filming of Pumping Iron at Gold's Gym, which made the movie so successful. Enjoy. Moving on now. Building the Gold's Gym brand and it becoming the mecca of bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that the gym was not making money. You come in, buy the save the gym basically from it becoming an antique store.
Yeah.
And, what were the initial things that you started doing? What were the initial changes that you made at Gold's Gym? Besides getting rid of the chief and putting Ken Waller in place, from the little gym that it was, that nobody knew, to being the mecca of bodybuilding, what were those first steps that you took?
I think the first steps, well, the number one step was Waller, who demanded that people pay when they walked in the door. There were a couple issues around that. I'm not going to avoid your question because your question is a good one for me. But two situations right off the bat. He demanded that everybody pay, including Zane and Franco, except for Arnold. One person doesn't have to pay. That seemed reasonable to me. And remember, I'd let Kenny make these decisions.
Yeah.
Because if you let somebody manage a place, they manage a place. But anyway, he wanted the money from Franco, and Franco mumbled around. He was all ticked off, and Waller said he wants everybody, you know. And what I didn't know, and I'm embarrassed by it, but Franco had two Nautilus machines in the gym. He didn't have any place for them. Arthur Jones had given them to Franco. So Franco said, I'll put them in the gym to Danitz.
Mm-hmm.
Danitz says, I'll give you a lifetime membership.
Oh, God.
Okay. Now, I didn't realize that it was actually written in the sales contract to me, like what obligations you have. I didn't read that until a couple years ago. And all that time, I never could figure out why Franco and I didn't get along with one another.
Right.
It was, I'm charging Franco. Franco knows he shouldn't be charged, but Franco couldn't explain. His English wasn't good enough, and my Italian wasn't good enough. Why not? Why shouldn't he have to pay? And then another one, Zane. That Zane got mad and wanted to train someplace else. Got angered because he had to pay his membership.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do? Some people, you know, and there were people, Waller kept a little book, and a lot of the guys didn't have any money. And we're only talking maybe $80 a year for a membership at that time. You know, yeah, best gym in the world, $80 a year. And Waller would keep a little notebook, and someone would come in, like Rick Drayson, for example. I remember that. Rick would have a $20 bill. Waller would write it down, you know, still have six, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He kept a little ledger, as I recall. But so I think number one in resurrecting the gym was Waller asking for the dues. Number two, I hit Hollywood with a lot of calls and saying, if you need a gym, et cetera.
Yeah.
And that started getting us on TV and in the movies. And sure enough, members started flowing in. And the fact that the biggest coup was that 77 Mr. America contest, where we had a parade with 250,000 spectators, and second largest to the Rose Parade. And sold out auditorium, and Mae West, who was a Hollywood icon, handing out the winner's trophy. That brought all the heavyweights from Hollywood to the event.
Yeah.
They then knew something about bodybuilding and wanted to get a part of it. Oh, and then Stallone the next year, I had him give out the trophy to Rudy Hermosillo for the Teenage Mr. America. That drew.
I've seen those photos. So you brought him out.
Yeah, that drew drew him into there. I had met. There's an interesting story. When I owned Gold's and I put it in Santa Monica. Incidentally, I put it in Santa Monica so I could have their original building, turn it into a home. So I moved the gym to Santa Monica, and right about a mile south of the gym was this little boxing gym. And inside the gym, I go in. I couldn't train at Gold's; it had become too busy. It was like everybody wanted to talk to a chef if it were a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any time to train, so worst shape of my life when I owned Gold's Gym. But I went down to a local boxing gym, started hitting a bag. Notice over in the corner, this good-looking Italian kid and a very tall African American choreographing punches. I asked the manager of the boxing gym, well, what's going on there? Oh, the good-looking kid. He wrote a script and he's going to star in it. And I thought, I've heard this 100 times. Sure enough, 6 months later, there's Rocky with the Academy Award. But anyway, we got to know one another there, and
cool.
So,
that is a great story. Wow.
Yeah. Mae West, I met at a director's house named George Cukor, who was sort of a surrogate father for me, and a lot of the Hepburn, there also, and in fact, I had signed a contract to work in movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been sent to a voice coach by Cougar, and they said my S's trailed off, and acting coach. And I took a step back and I thought, acting's not for me. That's not something I want to do. A lot of people would, and a lot of people have been very successful at it, but it wasn't right for me.
Mm-hmm.
Knew that. Little side story.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
But from that, I got the contacts, and also that Mr. America contest was published or publicast worldwide, as far as through news media and magazines and newspapers.
On Pumping Iron, then, how long did it actually take to be filmed at Gold's Gym?
Typically, but I think we're talking about a week, maybe 2 weeks, and that was hit or miss. As I said, all they had to do was come in, connect the cables, flip a switch, and the lights were already hanging from the ceilings, high ceilings, and they could just come in with a camera. And that might mean at the end of the day, they wanted to catch a couple of scenes, or early morning workouts, maybe catch a couple of scenes. And so it was always available, but I think they were in the area for 2 weeks,
mm-hmm.
at most 2 weeks. And in the gym, I don't know, that was the primary place for photography, in Gold's. But I would bet 10 hours, maybe 20 hours, maybe.
Total.
Total. Yeah.
Did you have a special agreement with Charles Gaines and George Butler? Because, I mean, most of the filming of Pumping Iron, gym-wise at least, is at Gold's Gym.
No, I used it as a promotional vehicle. I knew it was going to be, if successful, which I had my doubts, I knew it would be a good promotional vehicle. Yeah. I'm cynical, you see. I watch everything. It may not seem like it, but every little detail I try to focus in on. I didn't think it would be a successful film. I blew that one. And so I said, yeah, sure, give me a credit at the end of the film, which they did, Ken Sprague and Gold's Gym. Yeah. Thanks to one of those things. I wanted to make it as easy as possible for them. And I said, sure. I think George was a little dumbfounded when I said, that's all I want. I want you to just little credit. You have access to the place.
Yeah.
Because I also knew that would knock Vince's and Pearl's out of contention to have anything filmed there. And in all candor, Vince's was a dungeon, and it wouldn't have come out right. Yeah. And Pearl's was more like a made-over living room. It wasn't that hard-edged gym.
Yeah,
that you needed.
So there's a lot of footage, obviously, then that hasn't been shown in the film. Who
Yeah,
owns all the rights to these to the footage of pumping iron? Then
Arnold does now, is my understanding. I think he purchased the outtakes, etc., from Butler.
okay.
I think that's what I've been told on good sources.
I mean, you guys having seen the film must have. I'm sure that the thought must have crossed your mind, but there were certain scenes that you may have thought would have made the cut of the film. Are there any stories like that that you thought should have made the cut?
Uh, Honestly, no. I didn't see all the outtakes, so I can't really respond to that. And
Mm.
as far as when the live filming was going on, I may or may not have been in the gym. I wasn't in the gym much more than training.
Okay.
And out I would leave it to Waller or Dan Howard, who also became a manager later,
Mhm.
or Kent Keene. I trained, and that was it, except for the promotions. I handled all the promotions.
Mhm.
That was fun for me.
Yeah.
And I used that later in life. I'm sure you don't follow American politics that much, but my wife and I, Donna, promoted the largest crowd for the 1988 Jesse Jackson campaign,
All right.
and that presidential campaign. And so
Mhm.
that was in Eugene when we were living in Eugene, Oregon at the time. So I enjoyed promoting, but nowadays I don't do any of that. I do involve myself in political activism,
Mhm.
and I filed a major equivalent to a suit, complaint with the Office of Civil Rights regarding education, the disparities in education, which turned out really well for the kids,
That's
but
good.
but not the promotional stuff anymore.
Can you describe why the 77 Mr. America was such a success and like how it brought attention to bodybuilding in Gold's Gym? I mean, I've seen footage. I've
Yeah.
seen Dream Big, the documentary.
Oh yeah, you've got to watch Dream Big. I mean, your
Yeah.
audience needs that. Gives an overview of
Yeah.
what was going on. Well, my point of view was to expand weight training, bodybuilding to the masses.
Mhm.
At that time, it was still a very niche group. Not many people were lifting weights. In fact, the first woman that I knew that really lifted weights uh, didn't join Golds until 72, in
Mhm.
spite of the guys not wanting her in there. But I think the reason it was so big is the loose connection with Hollywood and the people that I knew, and
Mm.
I could get them to come out and build through print media and advanced spots, build an excitement for this thing. In the parade, I used to sort of get an easygoing family activity that mothers could bring their sons and daughters out to and watch. And again, to expand the novelty, take away some of the stereotypes of bodybuilders and bodybuilding. And then Mae West was the coup de grace. I've used that word recently. Mae
Mhm.
West was the coup de grace. She was a Hollywood icon. And if I could get her to come out and present a trophy, I knew that would be worldwide media of itself.
Yeah.
Sure enough, that did it. And that the talk of her were on left wing, right wing radios, TV,
Didn't
etc.
matter.
And yeah, and she carried the bodybuilding event along. The parade gave it a sense of levity and fun for the whole family.
Mm.
In fact, a little tidbit there: Jack LaLanne, the night of the competition, was running around outside the facility. He didn't have a ticket. He couldn't get a ticket, unlike the previous shows in LA before I
Wow.
got started with the promotions. Yeah.
Must have been full then.
Yeah. If I could give one more example, the
Yeah.
previous year's Mr. America contest on the 200th anniversary of the United States, 1776, what had happened was they held it in Philadelphia. A promoter's dream, Mr. America in Philadelphia, 200-year anniversary of the United States. They only had 500 spectators and only 3 photographers. Those were from the traditional bodybuilding magazines. And that's converse to what I'm all about. I didn't want that at all.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a good comparison.
So that was Ken Sprague on the filming of Pumping Iron and his continual pursuit at making Gold's Gym and bodybuilding a household name. As Gold's Gym manager, Ken Waller demanded that everyone pay except for Arnold, collecting from everybody, and as you heard, Franco was not happy about this, as somewhere along the way his life membership was not acknowledged by Ken, as he had not read the contract correctly, which he of course regrets. Ken Sprague, having the Hollywood contacts, would bring special guests such as Mae West at the Mr. America in 1977 and Sylvester Stallone at the Teenage Mr. America in 1978. Along with this, Ken made sure that Gold's would be used as gym scenes in Hollywood movies and series. Pumping Iron would be of course filmed at Gold's, and filming went for about a week, and as Ken recalls it, about 20 hours of footage was taken. This footage belongs to Arnold Schwarzenegger, and if you haven't seen it, new footage came out in the new Netflix series on Arnold. The 1977 Mr. America was yet another attempt by Ken Sprague to promote bodybuilding and Gold's Gym. By creating a bodybuilding extravaganza as a parade, it got an enormous audience of 250,000 people, and bringing Mae West was literally the cherry on top, and it was a tremendous success that brought much media attention to bodybuilding and Gold's Gym. Much of the footage can be seen at GMV Bodybuilding's 1977 Mr. America DVD, but you can get a taste of it from the movie Dream Big, available for free at Amazon Prime. So I do hope you have enjoyed this interview with Ken Sprague on the filming of Pumping Iron. And if you have, please give the video a like, subscribe, and leave me your comments. In the next video interview and the last of this initial series, Ken and I talk about the birth of the NPC and the end of the control of the Amateur League of Bodybuilding by York Barbell and Bob Hoffman. So please stay tuned. That's it from me. This is the Golden Era Bookworm saying bye for now. Head to www.goldenerabookworm.com for the biggest range of classic old school bodybuilding books as ebooks, e-magazines such as Iron Man and Reg Park Journal, high quality bodybuilding posters of the Golden Era stars, merchandise and classic gymwear featuring Steve Reeves, Marvin Eder, John Grimmick, Reg Park, and many other Golden Era stars. For those wishing to build a classic physique, lose fat and build muscle, online training is also available. Collectibles such as rare autographed photos from the Golden Era stars are also available, and to collaborate, please get in touch. As a natural bodybuilder, it is imperative to know your own testosterone levels, as they are a reflection of the anabolic environment created by your diet and training. I would highly recommend using the male hormone test kit from Let's Get Checked, and make sure you use my code GOLDEN30 for a 30% discount. Again, the advantage of checking yourself regularly is that you will know how well your body is anabolically primed to put on the much desired muscle you are working for. Not all of us have the time to go to a gym or the opportunity to have a coach to teach us one-on-one, but with the Future Fitness app, it's like having a personal trainer in your living room. From February 11th onwards, you can try the Future Fitness app for only $19 for the first month. Think of what you can accomplish during that first month. So go on and hit my link at tryfuture.co/GEB to get started. Now, if you're interested in learning more about Vince Gironda's approach to bodybuilding, his principles, and all these tips of wisdom that he has, but to be honest, these 3 books, I believe, which I call the Classic Physique Bundle, are the best books that Vince ever came out with. And they, of course, are the Wild Physique, the Master Series, and the Pro Series. Have a look at it this way. The Wild Physique, I believe, is like the ABCs of Vince Gironda's principles to bodybuilding. He teaches you the exercises and his principles. But how do you put them together? Well, the Master Series is a 14-month program of using all of these principles, all of the diets that Vince came out with, all of the exercises. And of course, the Pro Series was a book that he came out with later on, specially targeted for getting into competition. It's just these 3 books, as I call it, the Classic Physique Bundle, Vince's best work, and available, of course, at www.goldenerabookworm.com.